Welcome to Inside British Royals. This is your exclusive look inside the world's most famous family. We are exploring the scandals, secrets, and power plays that define the modern monarchy. If you are new here, please do well to hit that subscribe button for more updates. Once a celebrated war hero and the Queen's favorite son, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor now spends his days in forced isolation. Following a dramatic arrest, he's been placed under what insiders are calling a King Charles-imposed house arrest. So, how did the Golden Prince become a royal exile? And is this the final, desperate move to save the monarchy from the man who threatened to bring it all down? Deep in the sprawling, private Sandringham estate sits Marsh Farm. For centuries, it was a simple farmhouse, but today it's something else, a fortress for one. Following his eviction from the lavish royal lodge and a stunning arrest on his 66th birthday, this is the new reality for the king's disgraced brother. Insiders say this isn't a legal order, but something much more binding, a King Charles-imposed house arrest. The terms, though unwritten, are brutally clear. If Andrew wants to keep the financial support that funds his secluded lifestyle, he must stay completely out of the public eye. This is exile by royal decree, and the goal is total containment. To make it happen, Marsh Farm has been transformed. A new 6-foot-high security fence has been put up, designed to block almost any view of the home from the nearby road. A network of CCTV cameras and powerful lights turn this once quiet corner of the estate into a high-surveillance zone. Even the airspace above has been restricted, extending the estate's no-fly zone to keep out drones or media helicopters. Signs now explicitly ban journalists from the grounds. The palace's strategy is simple: reduce exposure and restrict access. But for the man inside, this carefully built isolation is reportedly taking a severe psychological toll. Stripped of his former routines and pleasures, the man once known as Air Miles Andy is now grounded indefinitely. With his world shrunk to the confines of a remote farmhouse, palace insiders have begun to leak worrying reports. They claim the former prince is going stir-crazy, trapped in a prison of the monarchy's making, but one built from the consequences of his own actions. The final straw came with shocking force on the morning of February 19, 2026. As the former Duke of York was marking his 66th birthday, a convoy of unmarked police cars swept onto the Sandringham estate. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The charge, which carries a maximum sentence of life in prison, stems from allegations that he shared sensitive government information with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein while serving as Britain's special trade envoy. The arrest was the result of mounting pressure. Recently released Epstein files had apparently shed new light on correspondence between the two men, which prompted an anti-monarchy group to formally request a police investigation. Thames Valley Police confirmed they were assessing the claims, and just weeks later, they acted. Police simultaneously searched his new residence in Norfolk and his former home, Royal Lodge. For nearly 12 hours, the king's brother was held in police custody before being released on bail, pending further inquiry. While no formal charges have been filed as of March 2026, the investigation is very much active. The move was a bombshell in modern royal history. In a statement that underlined the gravity of the situation, King Charles III declared, "Let me state clearly, the law must take its course." It was a clear signal that the era of protecting Andrew was over. The arrest wasn't just a legal turning point. It confirmed that the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein would not be exorcised, and that the questions about Andrew's judgment would no longer be met with silence. Trapped behind the new fences of Marsh Farm, the man at the center of the storm is reportedly starting to fracture. According to palace insiders, Andrew has recently started therapy, a move prompted by genuine fears he was going stir-crazy. The immense psychological toll of his downfall and the crushing weight of his isolation have apparently become impossible for him to ignore. Sources claim he's been assigned a counselor who specializes in helping high-profile individuals, including royals, navigate the intense pressures of public disgrace. This aligns with what some psychiatric experts have suggested. Dr. R.A.J. Persad, a consulting psychiatrist, has noted the profound psychological dangers for a figure like Andrew. The sudden loss of status, purpose, and the daily routines that once structured his life can create a dangerous void. For someone who seems to thrive on external validation and privilege, a fall like this can be catastrophic. Public humiliation and the loss of coping mechanisms can lead to a state of hopelessness, a key risk factor for self-harm. While some might see the arrest as a contained crisis, Dr. Persad suggests it may also be a psychological shield for Andrew, potentially saving him from more severe proceedings in the United States. However, the solution, extreme isolation, carries its own severe risks. One source alleged Andrew's days have become 100% sedentary, and that there's a careful watch over him. The king's strategy might be to protect the monarchy by making his brother invisible, but in doing so, he has created a pressure cooker. The therapy isn't just a response to stress, it's an intervention, a sign that the man who may have believed he was above accountability is now confronting the one thing he can't escape: himself. To understand the depth of this fall, you have to appreciate the height from which it began. For decades, Prince Andrew was the monarchy's golden child, the charismatic spare to the heir. He was the dashing action man, a helicopter pilot who flew into battle during the Falklands War and returned a national hero. His swagger and good looks earned him the tabloid nickname Randy Andy, a moniker that, back then, was more affectionate than critical. He was widely seen as Queen Elizabeth II's favorite son, a position that gave him a level of freedom others in the family didn't enjoy. His 1986 wedding to Sarah Ferguson was a fairy tale event, a global spectacle that sealed his status as one of the most popular royals. Together, they were a vibrant, modern couple. After leaving the Royal Navy, Prince Andrew was named Britain's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment in 2001. The role was supposed to leverage his royal status to help British businesses abroad. Instead, it laid the groundwork for his spectacular downfall. The travel demands quickly earned him the nickname Air Miles Andy, as reports mounted of his lavish use of private jets and helicopters at the taxpayers' expense. His confidence now began to look like arrogance. Even more troubling were the friendships he was making. He got tangled up with a circle of ultra-wealthy and often controversial international figures. This is when his association with the American financier Jeffrey Epstein solidified. Andrew was a frequent guest of Epstein's, staying at his homes and flying on his private jet, a friendship that continued even after Epstein's first conviction for sex offenses in 2008. The warning signs were obvious, yet they were ignored. During this time, as trade envoy, Andrew was privy to sensitive government information. The very allegations at the heart of his 2026 arrest, that he shared confidential information about investment opportunities with Epstein, come from this era. It suggests a blurring of lines between his public duty and his private relationships, a pattern of questionable judgment that was becoming harder to ignore. The Golden Prince image was beginning to tarnish, replaced by the perception of a man using his public role for private benefit, all while nurturing a friendship that would eventually prove toxic beyond imagination. If a single moment sealed Prince Andrew's fate, it was his disastrous interview on BBC Newsnight in November 2019. It was supposed to clear his name and distance him from the Epstein scandal. Instead, it became a textbook example of how to destroy your own reputation. For an hour, Andrew delivered a series of bizarre, unbelievable, and deeply unsympathetic explanations that stunned the public and horrified the palace. He famously claimed he couldn't have been at a London nightclub with his accuser, Virginia Giuffre, because he had taken his daughter to a party at a Pizza Express in Woking. He addressed Giuffre's vivid description of him sweating profusely by claiming he had a peculiar medical condition from an overdose of adrenaline during the Falklands War that left him unable to sweat. The claims were strange and widely seen as completely unbelievable. Even more damaging was the staggering lack of empathy. When pressed about his friendship with a convicted sex offender, Andrew showed no regret. Instead, he talked about the useful people he met through Epstein. He repeatedly failed to express any sympathy for Epstein's victims. The interview was an unmitigated disaster that stripped away any remaining public goodwill. Within days, the fallout was brutal. Andrew was forced to step back from public duties, but the damage was done. The Newsnight interview was the point of no return. It turned a private scandal into a public catastrophe and set in motion the final, irreversible stages of his exile. The aftermath of the Newsnight interview was a slow, systematic dismantling of a royal life. One by one, the pillars of Prince Andrew's public identity were kicked away. Charities, universities, and military associations rushed to sever ties with him, refusing to be tainted by his reputation. The consequences picked up speed with the filing of a civil lawsuit by Virginia Giuffre in the U.S. in 2021. Facing a humiliating public trial, Andrew settled out of court in 2022 for a reported multi-million-pound sum. While he admitted no guilt, paying a huge sum to his accuser was widely seen as a tacit admission. This finally forced the monarchy's hand. Under pressure from the future King Charles and Prince William, the Queen stripped her son of his honorary military titles and royal patronages. He could no longer use the title His Royal Highness. After the Queen's death, King Charles continued to distance the institution from his brother. The standoff over Andrew's 30-room mansion, Royal Lodge, ended with his eviction and relocation to the much smaller Marsh Farm. This long fallout, the loss of titles, the financial settlement, the public shaming, and the eviction, all led directly to that moment on his 66th birthday, when police arrived at his door. The arrest wasn't an isolated event, but the final step in a years-long unraveling that began with one catastrophic interview. The story of Prince Andrew is a saga of scandal, power, and consequence that is still unfolding. With an active police investigation and a monarchy desperate to protect itself, the final chapter has yet to be written. What do you think should happen next? Can the royal family ever truly move past this? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to stay informed on this and other major royal stories, be sure to subscribe. From a war hero to a royal pariah, the trajectory of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is a modern royal tragedy playing out in real time. His life story is a powerful narrative of decline, a journey from the heart of the establishment to its most isolated fringe. Confined to a remote farmhouse, stripped of his titles, and now reportedly in therapy to cope, his current existence is the stark consequence of a lifetime of questionable judgments. King Charles has drawn a hard line, creating a firewall between his brother and the institution he now leads. But questions linger. Is it possible to truly sever a limb from the royal family? Or will the shadow of Andrew and his connection to the dark legacy of Jeffrey Epstein continue to haunt the House of Windsor? His punishment may be a king-imposed house arrest, but the scandal has built a prison around the entire monarchy, one from which there is no easy escape. The fate of one man has become a defining test for the survival of the crown itself.